There's a problem with CAGED if you finally want to learn the guitar neck and be able to solo with freedom. See, we all want to be able to solo over any chord progression in any key with freedom and not sound like we're just running up and down scales. CAGED, at least the way I learned it when I was coming up, creates so much memorization. Scales, chords, shapes, diagrams. For me, it meant so much more time memorizing shapes than it did actually making music. But there's a better way. I've spent the last 16 years coming up with the best way to teach understanding the neck. I've refined this method by teaching hundreds of students and constantly refining the process. I call it the guitarist's blueprint. I'm about to lay out the 6-step framework so that you can learn the guitar neck and play with freedom. Step 1 is finding your why. The first and most important step in deciding you want to learn the neck is understanding why. If you're getting into playing jazz, you need different skills out of this than if you just want to be able to move a capo around with confidence to play your favorite country songs. You can't hit a target if you aren't aiming at one. Take the time to write out your goal and make sure it's specific. You can decide whether or not you've met it, so you know when it's time to move on to the next thing. You can always adjust your goals, but knowing where you're going is the first step in getting there. Step 2 is to build your map. Now that you have a destination in mind, we need to create a map to get there. And to do this, we're going to use what I call the pyramid of progress. The foundation of the pyramid is all about being able to name the notes everywhere on the neck confidently and comfortably. This is where the octave shapes come in. Next, we learn to fill those octave shapes in with chords and triads, what we're using most commonly to build songs. Our next step is to learn what I call framework scales, or our major and minor pentatonic scales. Now, with each octave shape, we're able to name the notes, see chords and triads, and play our major and minor pentatonic scales. This is going to get us playing and understanding over 90% of the music we love. Lastly, we move on to color notes, where we add or alter notes to the pentatonic scale so that we can create new and unique sounds for each song we're playing. Now, don't worry about remembering all this. I've made a free PDF that you can use to remind yourself of these steps and use to structure your practice. You can get that at school.com/guitar in my free course and community. It's my gift to you. Now that we've found our why and we've built our map, we can dig into the actual work of learning the neck. Step 3 is learning our octave shapes. There are 5 octave shapes that we have on the guitar. We pull them out of 5 chords: C, A, G, E, and D. That's where CAGED gets its name from. The problem we run into with the CAGED system is right now would be the time you got about a phone book of material of chords and scales and all sorts of things that you needed to memorize that were associated with each step. Instead, with the guitar blueprint, we want to learn just the octave shapes that are inside each of these chords. This is going to allow us to see every note on the guitar neck. Let me walk you through it. We're going to start by learning our 5 CAGED chords, which if you've been playing for a little bit, you probably already know. Let's use C as our example for this exercise. We need to learn where the octave shape is within the chord. For our C chord, it's on string 5 and it's on string 2. Both those notes are C. We want to ditch the other notes of the chord and just play that octave shape. In fact, every time we play the C chord, we want to know and feel where those 2-note Cs are. Now we want to start moving this octave shape around. What if we slid it up 1 fret? Well, now these are both the same note, but we've moved frets, so they're no longer C. They're C sharp. What if we move another fret? Now they're D, D sharp, E, F, and we can experiment bringing this up and down the neck. Once we've learned each of those 5 octave shapes and we've practiced moving them around the neck, we can then string them together, using those octave shapes to play only the notes C. Instead of moving one shape, we start to connect all 5. Step 4 is to learn triads, and chords. Our main goal is to learn the major and minor chords associated with each of these octave shapes, because those are the ones we use most often when playing songs. When we're playing songs, we're generally only going to use the bar chords associated with shape 2 or shape 4. In fact, since I lost my pinky, I can't make the full bar chords for shape 1, 3, and 5. But because I can visualize them, I can use parts of them, which I do all the time. The point is, we want to be able to see where these shapes are in our mind. When we're playing one chord, we want to know where we could play that chord in other spots on the neck. Now, things are starting to get really fun, but hold up. The most important tip I'm going to give you in the video is right now. It's important to start applying these chords, and in fact, everything we learn to music as quickly as possible. It's one thing to practice moving this C chord around over and over again so that you can see it on the neck, but it's a totally different thing to use this C chord to an F chord, to a G chord in a song as you're learning it. So we want to apply these things to any songs we're learning as quickly as possible. Step 5 is working on our framework scales. This is where things start to get really exciting, especially for those of us who love to improvise. Pentatonic scales are the most common scales in popular music. We use them in pop and rock and blues and country and jazz. There's nowhere that we don't find these scales. Even better, major and minor pentatonic scales are virtually identical. They just have a different home base or note that we end on to make things feel resolved or like home. Take the C major pentatonic scale, for example. I'm going to use shape 1. I started and I ended on the note C, and it sounded like a C major pentatonic scale. But if I start and end on the note A, it's going to sound like A minor pentatonic. Same notes, different home base. And just like with our chords and triads, we want to apply this to making music as quickly as possible. Even if it's putting on a backing track in the key of C, or having a song that we know in the key of C playing, and simply noodling around on this scale and following our ear to see what we come up with. If you're feeling inspired but overwhelmed, don't worry, you are not alone. We've gone over so much material. In fact, this is enough to keep you occupied for 3, 6, even 12 months. If you know you can do this, but you need help getting started or unstuck, you can join me for free at school.com/guitar. in my free course and community, where I'm there to help you out through your guitar journey and answer your questions as you work through this and any other material. Step 6 is adding in color notes. That's either taking a note from outside of the pentatonic scale and adding it in, or altering a note that's already in the pentatonic scale to give us a new and unique sound. There's 2 ways we do this, adding and altering. Let's start with adding. I might add in the note B to my C major pentatonic scale. Without it, with the note B added, it can help me resolve to a G chord. For example, the second way we add color notes is by altering notes. That's taking a note in the pentatonic scale and changing it. If we have the chord A minor 7 flat 5, kind of dense sounding jazzy chord, which we don't usually land on, but we would be passing on the way to another chord, say B flat. What we can do is we can take our A minor pentatonic scale and we can alter a note. We can take the 5th note and we can flatten it so that it fits with our chord. That's it. Those are our 6 steps. If you're committed to mastering the neck, please take it slow. Like I said, this is months and months worth of work if you're just getting started. It is absolutely worth it. It will change the way you play, but don't rush. We need to make sure that our head knowledge, our understanding gets into our hands so that we can use it when the time comes in our improvising, in our soloing, and in our playing. If you're planning your next practice session and you already have your guitar in hand, here is a video I made teaching my absolute favorite exercise to connect your brain and your fingers to use as a warm-up that's going to skyrocket your playing by adding it to your practice session for about 1 to 2 minutes a day.